Hey everybody, welcome back to another awesome episode of Talkin Far Far Away here from the Brick City Blockade Star Wars Podcast Network. And sitting across from me this evening is none other than Mario Hernandez Jr., also known as Sith Lord 310. You guys can follow him and subscribe to him over on YouTube. Mario, how are you doing this evening, my friend?
Good.
Awesome.
D23, but yeah.
That's right. No, you and I were kind of talking ahead of time before we started doing this, and Mario is somebody that Scott Inch and I, of course, our voices here on the show. We've been wanting to get Mario on, and Mario and I had some conversations in the past, and you're like, you know what, we're gonna make this happen. And Mario, I found out that you were at D23, so you got to experience all the fun and everything that was happening, especially when it comes to Star Wars specifically. Let me ask you, how was your Star Wars and nerdom experience at D23 this year?
And it was pretty good. I've been to several, Comic Cons in my area before, but none of them compare to just the level of it, the magnitude, and then, waiting in line for the panels, for the live action panel I went Friday night, right? Mm-hmm. I camped out around, I believe it was 4 a.m. Starting, just to get into the live action panel Saturday.
Jeez.
Yeah, and the thing is, the convention center didn't open until 9 in the morning.
Wow, so there was a little bit of a delay with that too. So you had to
wait that long. Yeah, so then waiting correctly was started at 11 something. So, it was a long wait just waiting there to get into this big, the big room where everything went down. And then just the energy in the room was it's hard to describe, and then just once they showed, the behind the scenes footage, I felt like the roof was gonna fly off of the building, man. It was just amazing.
Yeah, I know. Here at the network, of course, we couldn't make it out to D23 this year, but it's awesome that I'm having this conversation with you because we broke it down in our last episode, everything about that footage, but there's nothing like being in the panel room when it happens because I feel like there is electricity to it. And I can imagine, I mean, I'm going to be curious to hear from you. I mean, you must have just been looking around at people and just their faces. I can even imagine when this stuff was dropping and you got that little sizzle reel there. I mean, there was so much in that thing.
Just the way they introduced it, like some of the cast was there and, the fans were going crazy with Daisy Ridley. Everyone was just hyped up. And then once they said, oh, okay, we're going to show you guys something. And they showed behind the scenes footage. It was just an awe, man. We couldn't, after it happened, it was just, we could have probably, if we could have electrified the room with our, lit up the entire city block.
Wow. I mean, I can only imagine. You get a bunch of Star Wars fans in a room. I mean, I know everybody was also there for some of these other live action films, and they really packed the punch this year. But when you get a bunch of nerds and Star Wars fans in that room, I can only imagine what that felt like and everything. So, I mean, one of the things, obviously you were there to see it, and we've been talking about it here at the network, Mario. I think it's most proper if you want to start breaking down the sizzle reel a little bit, because I think that there was some pretty interesting tidbits in it specifically. And I think we're going to get to know a lot about you as a Star Wars fan just by discussing this alone. Let's just kick it off. I mean, you see that sizzle reel and you're sitting there and you see what looks to be the planet of Crate that we're going to see in this next film. And just that red smoke and all that, I don't know what they're going to call it, but all that dust that's being kicked up. I mean, that must have been like, bam, right in your face, right there.
Yes. Okay. Well, the thing is, once we saw that, at first we weren't sure if it was gonna be a trailer or. I mean, everyone assumed it was gonna be a trailer, and there was a report that it was gonna be a trailer. So everyone originally thought, okay, it's probably gonna be a trailer. But then, as we saw, the commentary, like, okay, it's behind the scenes, reel, and then. One of my major takeaways from the footage was that, yeah, they're pushing the new characters and the practical effects, but the main thing that I took away was that the main thing that really stood out, that everyone was saying, Rian Johnson did something completely different than what everyone is going to expect. The story is something completely different and completely new. That is what excited me the most.
Yeah, we're getting somebody completely different to what the usual Star Wars universe is. I mean, I said it in the past, and I'm going to be curious to hear your thoughts on this specifically, Mario. But I said originally, JJ's job was to reintroduce fans to this universe. Now it's Ryan's turn to turn this thing on its head and give us something fresh and new. And I feel like that's such a good approach, and I think this sizzle reel does such a really good job, Mario, of getting us ready for that. And like Mark Hamill said in it, I know Mark has not been sure specifically about how this film is going to work for him, and I know he's made some comments basically like around how everything is working compared to in the past. But even he was saying in the sizzle reel that, you know what, I expected something, and Ryan just completely took it a different direction and threw me for a loop.
Yeah, I mean that was a big thing because the internet, when Mark Hamill, we all praise him, but when he says something like that, like, oh, I wasn't completely sure what he was doing with the movie, everyone kind of freaked out a bit. Like, okay, well, what is he doing with the story? What is he doing with Luke specifically?
Mm.
And to have Luke himself come out and say, hey, I was wrong. Like, yeah, I had some some apprehensions, but now that I see the finished product, I see what he's doing, and and I approve of it.
Mm. That's quite a switch to go to. I mean, basically from where he started to where he is now. And I have to admit, Mario, the one thing that got me, and I can only imagine after the sizzle reel, like having conversations with everybody after seeing it, the one thing that caught my attention, and I think it has to be the porgs. I think it has to be those little seal creatures that we're going to see on Octu. Was there a lot of talk about those creatures at D23 after?
Yeah, my buddy who went with me, the first thing he said after that, he's like, I bet you those are gonna sell. They're gonna sell a lot of toys of those things.
Yeah, they're just, I can't believe I'm saying this, but they're adorable. And I get a little concerned because somebody here at the network, Mario, specifically said that they're a little worried that why Luke is so chunky in The Force Awakens is because he was eating some of those porgs on the island. And I got a little concerned when I heard that. I don't know what your feelings on that are, but I think these porgs are more of friends, not food in this case specifically.
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. I don't know. I mean, knowing the character of Luke, I don't think he would have the heart to kill something so adorable, or anyone would, really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see Luke being the kind, unless he explored the dark side during that time, to be the kind of person who just destroys porgs for them for to basically eat. I don't see that happening. And then finally, let's just wrap this dissection up. Being in the room when we see Carrie Fisher say it's all about family. I mean, that alone, what a way to end the sizzle reel.
Yeah, just when it happened, because the death of Carrie Fisher, yeah, it was such a big thing. But the truth is, for us fans, it doesn't affect our day-to-day lives.
Right.
And there's some days where we forget about it. And then once we saw this at the end, how they played it off, it hits you again. Like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. But now, those feelings are resurfaced.
Yeah, they come back at you again. And I think as Star Wars fans, it's one of those things. It's like you just said. You said it beautifully there, Mario. It's like, we do forget about these things. We forget about Kenny Baker passing away, and that R2D2 is going to have somebody else in that role, whether they move to animatronics, whatever they move to. There's not going to be a person necessarily in that's ever going to be like Kenny Baker. And
yeah,
we're just reminded of that every time we see either a teaser. And I'm sure when we see that trailer come either August or September, that full-length trailer, if they're following the Comic-Con path here, I mean, you can only imagine that we're going to see Luke and Carrie Fisher and, of course, Princess Leia reunited in that trailer. And I think it'd be such a nice little emotional twist, Mario. I don't know your thoughts on that, but I think it would be kind of cool to see that.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not ready for that yet, just because I can't wait. I can't, imagine how I'm gonna feel once I see them, the two characters that I love so much finally reunite and just, I'm pretty sure we all know they're gonna hug each other if they're not seeing each other,
Right.
and that hug is just gonna, I'm pretty sure Princess Leia's theme is gonna kick up in the background, and we're just gonna, just thinking about it now, man, just gets me kind of choked up.
It's something, you know, that I know we're gonna have plenty of tissues, Mario, you and I, when we see that come out, and I'm sure we're gonna have to react, the two of us. We're gonna be messing each other back, like, hey, Robin, hey, Mario, did you see this happen? Yeah, dude, I got a whole 5 boxes of Rogue One tissues next to me, so it'll be curious to see how that turns out. Now, Mario, one thing we do with anybody who comes on the show here is, and recently we've been talking about our favorite Star Wars moments here at the network, and I think it'd be most appropriate to get what your specific favorite Star Wars moment is, and maybe it's a trap, or maybe it's something like a little more vocal. But I have a funny feeling your unique Star Wars moment is truly unique.
Yeah, my favorite. Okay, well, anytime someone says the word Star Wars, I instantly think of one scene. I don't know why a scene has always stuck in my head. It is the opening scene of Star Wars Episode 4. Once we get
Wow.
the looming ship coming for the rebels, and we get this how small this one side of this this war is, and how big this other and enforcing this other side is, and then the entire opening scene with the stormtroopers coming into the hallway, blasting them up, and then seeing Vader come in through the mist, and he's this looming force. It's just, to me, this is what and then not to mention the John Williams music during this scene. To me, is probably one of the iconic music scores. How he just comes in, the music's ramping up. Vader's just here. You could tell this guy, he just comes in angry. He just comes in mad. He's this dark, literally dark figure coming in with all these white luminous stands out. And to me, the scene has always truly defined what Star Wars is. And to me, that's just, this small band of heroes in a way against this opposing force.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And we actually made a comment on our recent episode. We were like, none of us at the network chose that moment. And it's so funny that I'm talking with you right now, and it's like, wow, somebody actually chose that moment. And you're right. It's what kicks off the fandom. Those who were in the theater in 77, and those of us who saw it later on. We saw it either on the special editions, or we saw it on the original VHS or on DVD. That is the moment. Now, let me ask you, did you start with Episode 4 when you got into Star Wars, or were you somebody who started at a different spot and then worked their way?
The first movie I remember watching, in full length and actually, remembering this was Episode 3. I remember I went to go see that movie in the theater with my father, and that was the first movie that really just hooked me. The space battles, as I call them back then, the light swords, and then the soldiers, the aliens, everything. Star Wars is meant for kids. As much as we don't like to admit it, it's for kids, and it really pulls the kids who are into these sci-fi worlds, this the fiction side of things. It just brings them in. This sense of adventure and this bigger world, and so many different things you can learn about and read about. And that's the first movie I remember seeing completely. And then it just started with everything else.
You and I were in the same boat. I was there opening night for Revenge of the Sith, and I can remember how psyched I was up to that point. Literally right next to me, I have a Star Wars Revenge of the Sith shock trooper that came out on that Force Friday in 2005, and that was one of those films that just kind of, is somebody like you that saw it as their first film. It was kind of like, wow, it was an eye opener, and it was like the way it ended too. I mean, let's just talk about that. You want to talk about connecting the universe, and for George Lucas to kind of wrap the whole thing up, and we had no idea that Rogue One and this new trilogy was going to come at that point.
Yeah, I mean, back then, that to us, that was the last movie we were going to get. That was the last time we were going to see Star Wars, a new Star Wars movie, at least on the big screen. And to us, it connected pretty much everything perfectly. Like, wow, that flows pretty good into Episode 4.
Yeah, we didn't know that we were gonna get Biston and the story of Jyn Erso at that time, and who would ever have thought, with such a time gap and everything, that again we would be reintroduced to this universe. Mario, I gotta ask you, if you were to be one specific Star Wars character in the universe, whether it's Legends whether it's in the modern canon, who would that character be?
It's gonna be it's gonna be a choice that not most people would pick, but I feel this character, he just has the best of luck, and I'm gonna choose Lando.
Oh, Lando Calrissian. Why would you choose Lando? I'm curious.
Just because, okay, well, from what we pulling from some Legends material, not all of it, and some canon stuff. This guy's lucky. He gets out of a lot of tight situations, and this guy, have the ability to steal stuff from the Emperor himself, from his own personal ship, and still get away with it, and not get electrocuted to death or anything.
Yeah.
And not to mention, his character to me has always been such a character that I don't know, for some reason he's just that that cool uncle that everyone has. He really just hits me like that. I love it. He's just so he's so smooth, and yet he's not like completely a fool. He knows what he's doing. He's smart. He's calculated. He's cool. That's the biggest thing that we got from him. This character is just cool. He's like Han Solo, but minus the sarcasm. He's just this cool character, and that has always resonated with me for some reason.
Now, I know Mario, and much like Scott Inch, who is also on Talkin Far Far Away, I believe you are an avid viewer of what is Collider videos. And recently on Jedi Council, they were kind of talking about the Han Solo film. And I have to admit, when it comes to all the characters in this upcoming film, the Han Solo unnamed, I was hoping at D23 we were going to get a name, but I think we'll just wait a little bit longer. Donald Glover playing the character of Lando Calrissian. What is your thoughts on that? Because I think it's going to end up being pretty cool.
Something I've been saying since he was cast as Lando, I believe that Donald Glover is going to steal this movie. I just think from all of his work, even from his small roles, in movies like The Martian, he just exemplifies, this. I feel that I'm apprehensive about the whole, casting of Han Solo and, that whole debacle. I'm pretty sure everyone is. I think he will do fine, but to me, I'm just most excited to see Lando because I am such a big fan of him, and just to see, seeing Donald's other work, seeing what he could do with this character, how he can expand on him, and how he can pull like this backstabber yet friend to Solo, and just seeing how he can expand on him and make him his own, but yet still pay homage to Billy Dee's interpretation. I think that he's really going to steal the movie from Alden.
Yeah, I can totally agree with you on that one. I've been, Sean Michaud and we host the home show, and Sean is such a huge fan of Donald Glover. He loves everything he's done from Atlanta to recently, spoiler alert, he is in Spider-Man Homecoming. And he kind of steals the show in terms of his little character in that little spot that he's in. But at the same time, no matter what you put him in, he is just so unique, and he has a certain level of gravitas to him, like modern gravitas, that when he's on a project, it's like, yeah, that's Donald Glover. That's the Lando I want to see in the Han Solo film.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention, I've seen seeing how he's growing his facial hair and he's letting his hair grow. I'm like, wow, that really looks like him. Like, I to that.
He's committed to the character of Lando Calrissian, so kudos to him. I think, yeah, again, you said it perfectly, Mario. I totally believe he is going to steal the show. All right, Mario, it's come to that time of the show. This is a little thing we like to call plug time. And this is where you can list any place you would like the good people of the Star Wars universe to find you across social media.
Okay, well, I have my own personal YouTube channel called Sith Lord 310, where I do my own Star Wars show called Death Star Radio, where we do pretty much the same thing, like a panel-like show, and then I do movie reviews pretty often, and then I do, on occasions, my new show actually is called Movie News of the Week, where I pick a movie news subject of the week, obviously, and then I just give my thoughts on it. subject, depending on what I believe is it's the highlight of that week in movie news. And also, I do co-host another Star Wars show called War of the Stars on the Realm of the Mist Entertainment. It's a YouTube channel. And, on occasions I pop up on other shows. I have an Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook dedicated to my personal channel. Yeah.
Very cool. All great places to find Mario Hernandez Jr. across social media. Please make sure to head on over to his YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to Sith Lord 310. I have to admit, I've watched a couple episodes of Death Star Radio. I really like what you're doing with that show. And here at the Brick City Blockade Podcast Network, we are full supporters and subscribers of Sith Lord 310. We love what you're doing. Keep up the awesome work. You guys can follow me over on Twitter at Mr. Vote Tweets. Make sure to head on over to Instagram and follow me at The Official Vote. Also, make sure to head on over to iTunes. Please subscribe to the Brick City Blockade Podcast Network. Follow everything happening in a galaxy far, far away by rating, commenting, and sharing the Brick City Blockade Podcast Network. We look forward to next time having you on, Mario Hernandez Jr. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, man. It was a lot of fun, and I'll be happy to come back anytime.
Awesome. Exactly what we like to hear. Thank you guys for listening to the latest episode with Mario Hernandez Jr. of Talkin Far Far Away. And we'll see you soon. May the Force be with you. Always.